Greetings and welcome to the Dr. J Vlog series. It is Sunday, May 25th, 2025, and on Sundays we talk about the purpose and meaning of life. Jalal al-Din Muhammad Rumi, or simply Rumi, was a 13th century Persian poet, Islamic scholar, jurist, and Sufi spiritualist, who was born on September 30th in the year 1207 and died December 17th, 1273. He composed most of his work in Persian, but occasionally in Turkish and Arabic and even Greek occasionally as well. His main teaching emphasizes Tawheed, or the oneness of God, which can be realized only through everlasting love. Indeed, Rumi believed that love lies at the heart of human existence. It's what distinguishes the human being as a special entity, as a unique creature, if you will, in the universe. And he emphasized the power of love to connect people, to transcend boundaries, and illuminate the path to spiritual awakening. So Rumi's teachings then of inner transformation stress the importance of letting go of attachment, the ego-driven self with the earthly desires that we all have, and the imprisonment of negative emotions. So instead, from Rumi's perspective, we experience personal growth and approach our best selves by engaging in self-reflection and mindful meditation, and by cultivating the virtues of compassion and forgiveness. So, for those who are unfamiliar with Rumi and his work, I'd like to share with you a few of my favorite quotes and poems or portions thereof that should hopefully inspire you and perhaps open your heart to the absolute eternal beauty and wisdom that exists within you and connects you and me with our world and with the universe. So let's start here. Rumi wrote, and this is the first one, "There is a candle in your heart ready to be rekindled. There is a void in your soul ready to be filled. You feel it, don't you?" And so as per today's subject matter, Rumi's conveying that you and I and we all have a purpose in life. You may not fully understand your purpose yet, but that's something that you should be focusing in on as soon as you have the maturity and the wisdom to acknowledge that core truth. I'm convinced that those who have lost their way in the world, whether they're addled by drug addictions or endlessly chasing money and material well-being, or if they spend their lives hurting others or engaging in violence or in contemplating suicide and so many other things, I'm convinced that people who have lost that purpose, their purpose as such, or perhaps never understood their purpose in the first place, I'm imagining that that's why they lead the lives that they do. And that's countless millions of people. But there's still time. There's always time, even for those who have lost their way. And so from Rumi's perspective, even in those darkest moments, and when you or I feel unsure of which way to go, the answers that you're looking for are there. And they lie within you if you're willing to come back to and recognize and embrace your true self. Sometimes it's just about shutting down the outer noise and the distractions. And it's about tuning into that inner voice. Your intuition deep within you knows better. And that leads me to quote number 2. The quieter you become, the more you are able to hear. And this is such a simple and yet incredibly profound statement. We truly need to embrace the quiet and the stillness to be able to hear and to understand much more deeply who we are and who we're destined to become. So, in that sense, my advice is to spend more time in stillness, in quiet reflection, and without the constancy of external stimuli. Yes, we all have our phones, we have our earbuds, we have our music, we have all these different devices, etc. We have constant electronic internet access, most of us. And some of that's great, and it's entertaining, or it's just practical and helpful to have at our disposal. I'm no Luddite. I get it. We live in the modern world. And these devices are essential to how we function these days. But if I'm channeling Rumi correctly, I'll suggest that you put those devices away, at least for a period of time, every single day. In fact, turn off this vlog right now. No, don't do that. Wait. And by the way, if you like it, hit like and subscribe. It's the modern world, right? So, but the point is to enjoy a walk or a run or a drive with nothing more than the company of yourself and your own thoughts and feelings. And then allow that self to connect with the world around you and the infinite beyond. And do that daily. Perhaps more than once daily. Side benefit, you'll find such contentment and inspiration, and often your creative juices flowing as a natural byproduct. In fact, most of the ideas that I have, if they're worth having or using or developing or sharing with you, most of those ideas come, at least for myself, during those periods of quiet reflection each day. Or when I'm out on that run. Yes, I go out for the run or the, whatever the exercise. And I'll often do that without a phone, without any external stimuli. I know, boring. But it's incredibly relaxing and refreshing and replenishing to do that. So I do it, and I recommend that you do it as well. And there's nothing wrong with just getting back to yourself, at least, as I say, at least once a day, or if not more. And so here's another quote, quote number 3. And it's merely a sentence that contains 10 words. The only lasting beauty is the beauty of the heart. Again, that might seem painfully obvious then. But I take it to mean, well, it has a few meanings, but within our cultures, we tend to identify so much beauty with the ephemeral aspects of the human condition, like our physical selves. We apply the makeup, we, style our hairs or our wigs, we do our nails, we wear certain clothing, and we even, some of us, get surgeries to make ourselves more physically attractive or beautiful. But in our beautiful hearts, every single one of us knows that these are just temporary vanities, all of which will fade away and yield their firmness under the weight of time. Our aging bodies inexorably will start to break down. And should we really lament these inevitable changes? I mean, feel free to do as you wish. But this is actually something that I felt deeply for quite some time. I've never, ever wanted to go backwards in life or in age or to be young again. I know I'm never going to look like I was when I was 27, ever again. And by the way, this is what I looked like when I was 27. Let me see if I can get this up there correctly. There you go. So yeah. Okay. So now that's almost 40 years ago. 36, I guess, technically. That's okay. The point is that I'm not going to look like that again, nor do I want to. Those looks and those images are about the person that I was. And all of that, of course, is faded. Again, may be captured in a photo or two here and there. But even as you and I age and our physical beauty, as it's defined by contemporary cultural standards, as that physical beauty fades, I'll suggest, at least from my perspective, and maybe Rumi's then, I see even more beauty. My wife was absolutely stunningly gorgeous when I met her 20 years ago. And she and I, of course, have both aged proportionately over the 20 ensuing years. But she looks far more beautiful to me today than when I met her. And it's the beauty of the heart that has grown and endures. And in her face, and even in the lines on her or my face, I see a much deeper beauty. The baby and the child and the young man and woman, they all have their own beauty. Okay? But a person who has lived a full life and whose heart has grown every single day exudes the most profound beauty, in my view, that we can know, at least in our earthly human forms. So my goodness, let your heart grow and see just how beautiful you truly are. Just like my almost 95-year-old mother was when she passed last year. She was never more beautiful than she was at age 95. Okay, next quote. Yesterday, I was clever, so I wanted to change the world. Today I am wise, so I am changing myself. Ah, yes, such fire and venom used to burn inside of myself. I don't know about you. I wanted to save the world. And in fact, I dropped out at the University of Virginia just 3 weeks shy of completing my first semester as an undergraduate, because I was going to join the Peace Corps and get busy living rather than getting busy dying, as Andy Dufresne might have said. Such hubris and self-confidence, such youthful, self-righteous indignation at all the cruelty and the indifference in the world, especially towards starving children, people struggling all over the world. So don't misunderstand me. I still feel just as deeply for every hungry or malnourished child on the planet, and for people who are suffering deeply wherever they might be. That's never changed. And I'm just as motivated as ever to do what I can with my little self to try to help. A day never passes when I don't give these issues some thought and take some small actions that I think are helpful. Who knows? But I am indeed happy and grateful to try, even in my own small ways. Nothing to brag about, but I'm no longer that 18-year-old either. And he might look at me, that 18-year-old might look at me and have his doubts about who I've become. I don't know. I don't begrudge the young man his choices or his perhaps different opinions and worldview. He saw the world through his 18-year-old eyes. Nothing wrong with that. But there are things I know now that he could never have known. More importantly, the question at the core of my existence has changed. It's no longer, how can I save the world? Or at least change the world with my ideas and efforts. Instead, it's become more about constantly growing, learning, adapting, maturing, and changing myself. And how can I do these things and truly change myself in a manner such that I can contribute better to this world? So I value the contributions, large and small, that each of us can make in our own little corners of the world, and even with the smallest of gestures. If we take what we do seriously, no matter what our job, no matter what our profession, no matter what our station in life, and we engage the world with love in our hearts, we're contributing the best of ourselves. And that's such a tremendous gift. Are we changing the world? Well, to some extent, sure. I have to imagine we are. We're having an effect of some kind. But to me, it's more accurate to say that we're contributing to the world. And even in our small ways, we're being part of the solution, whatever that grand solution might look like. And almost all of us know intuitively, instinctively, when we're contributing, or conversely, if we're hurting or harming or destroying the world or others around us. 99% of life's decisions and challenges are patently simple and obvious. That 1%, yeah, they're complex, they're difficult questions. We've talked about some of these in some of the other vlogs. But the vast majority of the time, it's incredibly simple. Literally, most of life consists of, gee, should I toss this piece of paper on the ground? Or should I put it in the garbage? Or even better, should I put it in the paper recycling bin? We know, it's obvious, right? Should I walk quietly since I'm the first person up in the morning so as not to disturb everyone else who's sleeping? Or should I, selfishly walk around, stomp around, rattle some dishes, turn on some music, turn on some lights, and wake everybody else up? And so on. So again, even the smallest of our gestures, we can make a difference. We can contribute in positive ways every single day, potentially. And if you struggle with some of these issues, these basic issues, or perhaps some of the bigger ones, like contributing to your household or your partners or your children's well-being, or even that of your coworkers, then perhaps you should be asking yourself, why? What's my problem? Right? And in other words, you should seek to improve and become the better version of yourself. Okay? So, in general, if you can look honestly at yourself and change yourself for the better, you're almost guaranteed to be changing the world for the better. And if you're grateful and resilient and loving and confident and helpful and productive, then you're definitely contributing positively. And this connects me to Rumi quote number 5. The art of knowing is knowing what to ignore. Ignore those that make you fearful and sad and that degrade you back towards disease and death. Okay? So you're not being selfish if you prioritize your own mental health and well-being. It's just like that classic instruction on the plane. If you've ever been on a plane, if the oxygen masks are needed, you're supposed to put yours on first, and then you're in a position to help your children or anyone else who might be struggling. So yeah, you kind of have to save yourself first. And of course, the advice and the instructions of Rumi's quote are even more direct. If you surround yourself with people who cause you distress or pain or negativity, then you know that your own physical and emotional health almost certainly will suffer as well. So there are times when we all need to get away from the negative influences or create some distance from those who are bringing us down for whatever reasons, by accident or by design. Again, there are many out there, as I mentioned a moment ago, who continue to struggle. They are, for whatever reasons, unable to shine their lights upon the world, at least as brightly as they're perhaps capable of. And it's not your job or my job to ensure that everyone else becomes enlightened. Doesn't mean you don't care. Of course you do. But we have to, again, start with ourselves, and then we have to take stock of our own kind of living and working situations. And sometimes we can and should work on relationships with others. But we have to be judicious. We have to be willing to let go of some relationships or step away from those who we cannot reach or affect positively, at least for a time. In the future, who knows? But even more crucially, we should be striving to surround ourselves with supportive and loving and uplifting people whenever we can. And if we find that we're the one not being supportive, loving, and uplifting, then again, ask yourself, why not? What's holding you back from being that kind of person? So the bottom line, you can and should work on changing yourself for the better, just as you should drink plenty of water each day and eat a healthy diet and so on. You cannot, of course, demand that of everyone else or change everyone else for the better. That's just not your job. That's their job. But if you can forge healthy relationships, personally and professionally, you can certainly positively influence others and vice versa. And for me, that's, again, why I love spending time, for example, with my wife and with our 5 boys, our 5 young men, and their partners, among others. Ain't not a one that's perfect, don't get me wrong, including myself, but I find that every single one of them tends to be a supportive, loving, caring, and decent human being. And I learn from them, all of them. Do they need some help and some advice and some support from time to time? Of course, we all do. But it's actually easy to be their parent, if you will, because they've all done their own work to become better people themselves. And they, in turn, have as much to offer us as parents or more these days as a result, and sometimes more because of their own special gifts, things that they can bring that my wife and I, that goes beyond our own resources or abilities or creativity or what have you. So it's incredible. Anyway, does that make sense? I hope it does. But to be clear, we're all still working on it. We're all still trying to become better people because it's a lifetime endeavor, journey as such. Okay, and so finally we arrive at the last piece from Rumi. And I'd like to read my personal favorite poem of Rumi's, and it's titled When I Die. And I think that's an apt conclusion to today's vlog. Rumi writes, or he wrote, "When I die, when my coffin is being taken out, you must never think I am missing this world. Don't shed any tears. Don't lament or feel sorry. I'm not falling into a monster's abyss. When you see my corpse is being carried, don't cry for my leaving. I'm not leaving. I'm arriving at eternal love. When you leave me in the grave, don't say goodbye. Remember, a grave is only a curtain for the paradise behind. You'll only see me descending into a grave. Now watch me rise. How can there be an end when the sun sets or the moon goes down? It looks like the end. It seems like a sunset, but in reality it is a dawn. When the grave locks you up, that is when your soul is freed. Have you ever seen a seed fallen to earth not rise with new life? Why should you doubt the rise of a seed named human? Have you ever seen a bucket lowered into a well coming back empty? Why lament for a soul when it can come back like Joseph from the well? When for the last time you close your mouth, your words and soul will belong to the world of no place, no time." That's it. So feel free to draw your own conclusions, interpret that as you may. You've heard enough from me already today. I'll merely suggest that if you should choose to invest some time with Rumi, then here's what I truly believe. I believe that you'll find a model of the potential harmony between the physical and the spiritual, one's mind and one's heart, the finite and the infinite, and the human and the divine. And now likely you understand better my daily sign-off as well. And that is, of course, may you and yours continue to create peace in your lives, nurture love in your hearts, and dole out hugs in abundance. I'll see you soon.